Hello everyone and welcome back to Travels with Travis. Today we're going to talk about the most travel-y thing there is, being a flight attendant. Let's discuss. Boom! So today I'm going to specifically talk about being a flight attendant with Mesa Airlines because that is the company that I worked for about a year and a half, and I will get you going on that. So if you're looking for information on Mesa Airlines or looking at applying or want to know how training is or how it is to work, this will be kind of just a quick wrap up about all that information. So the first thing is the interview process. Now, I want to stress this, no matter what airline you're interviewing for, because I'm assuming if you're doing Mesa, you're probably applying for a lot of airlines, I heavily stress dressing nice. For guys, suit and tie, watch is a mandatory, and you can do little flares like a little tie clip, that's an airplane, or handkerchief coming out of your jacket, stuff like that. Great. For guys, also when you dress, do not show up in jeans, period. I've seen a couple guys, they show up in jeans or they get like a button-up shirt like this, tucked in with like some khakis or something. This is not that kind of interview. You want to have a suit and tie. I stress that. I saw a guy come in one time, he had jeans, a button-up shirt like this, and a leather jacket over it, long hair. So the thing is, guys, if you have long hair, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to get it cut like this. He had long hair and like a ponytail. I'm like, don't show up for an interview like that. You have to have that clean, crisp, conservative look, at least just for the interview. Once you're past the interview, you can kind of play with what you can get away with if you like your hair longer or something of that nature. So make sure to do that. For girls, I stress this. I very much stress this. The best way to look, and it's not the only way to look to get hired, but the best way to look in my experience is to have a tight conservative bun and a scarf that kind of matches the airline you're applying for. So like if it's United, you might want blue. If it's American Airlines, you can do red, white, and blue, or mismatch of their colors, something like that. I would do a white blouse tucked in with a blazer, black preferably, or something that matches the uniform of the company. A skirt that is a conservative skirt, hose and kind of heels, something look granny looking unfortunately, but you want to look conservative. There was a lady in the American Airlines interview I did once, and I swear I thought she was a recruiter, and that's exactly how she was dressed. The scarf, I mean, with everything. I swear she already looked like an American Airlines flight attendant, and I guarantee she got hired as long as her resume and everything else looked good. So also, you want your resume to look good. You want a good work history. Make sure you close the gaps. That's one thing that's important. You'd rather them just not ask about it in the first place. Anyways, during the interview for Mesa, basically they're going to send you after you fill out the application and they like you, they're going to send you a video questionnaire, or so basically you'll answer questions while recording. I got invited to an information session, but that was just me. I don't know if they do that anymore because that was 4 years ago. So they will send you a video interview and you will record yourself answering questions. I believe there's multiple retakes that are given, and then I got invited to an information session. I don't think they do that anymore. I think they just do a video interview in person on Skype or something of that nature. That's how I believe they do it, and then they'll let you know whether or not you got hired. So once you're hired though, and you're working for Mesa Airlines, yay, then you move on to training. What's training like? Well, training is in Phoenix, Arizona. It is very hot, so make sure you apply during the non-summer months, but that's when they do most of their hiring. Then you'll be there for about a month. You will get a roommate. If you don't get a roommate, that is very, 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 very unlikely. They have changed the hotels since I got there. The one I stayed in, it was nice, but everybody complained about this one hotel. Don't remember which one, but I don't think they have that anymore. So you're lucky. You will be up early every day, and you will be at the training center learning fire safety, evacuation safety. You do not do water evacuations. Attire will pretty much be black shirt with blue jeans and black shoes or athletic shoes. That's usually what they recommend. It's pretty easy, honestly. My sister just went through training. They have kind of gotten more strict because they had to. When I was in training, they were giving like, they were letting people through, like, people who did not pass the final exam. They would just give them an oral exam instead, and, like, they would fail the final exam, like, 2 times, and then give them an oral and be like, all right, you're good. It's like, what about everybody else who made a 100 or 90% or, you know, satisfactory grade? Like, you're just letting these people who failed through. I mean, I would be scared to fly with them. Anyways, I digress. Now, once you get to the end of the training, they'll do the ceremony, you know, you'll get your flight attendant certification, but you're not a certified flight attendant yet because you have to go on your IOE, which is the initial operating experience. You have to go out with a flight attendant who is a trainer, and they have to show you the ropes, and you have to basically learn everything as fast as you can and then do it by yourself on the last flight, which is called your check ride. Now, if on your check ride she checks everything and everything looks good, then you are a certified flight attendant. She'll submit the information and you will start. I highly stress, if you're in this phase, not to worry so much. You will learn everything out there. It'll all come back to you from training. Make sure everything's secured. That's mostly the important thing. You will not be able to sit in the jump seat for this portion because you have to be a certified flight attendant to sit in the jump seat. She'll sit in the jump seat and they'll have a seat on the aircraft that is out for you, either in first class or in the back, depending on where she wants you. So don't worry about that. But it's easy. Like it's easy. It's not a hard job, especially for Mesa. Anyway, now that you've gotten off your check ride and you're now ready to be a flight attendant, what can you expect? Well, you're going to be on reserve. Now, when I was going through, I got off reserve on 2 months, and that was great. My reserve schedule was pretty easy. Now, I will tell you, crew tracking will annoy the absolute heck out of you. They will call and call and call and call and call and change and call and change and call. So just be prepared for that. So I got lucky and I got off on 2 months and had a hard line to where I didn't really have to worry about that anymore. So that was really good. However, my sister, who currently works for them, she's getting calls all the time. Now, she has to do a lot of base assistance. So right now she's based in Dallas and they send her to Dulles constantly to help. She doesn't like it because she has to go somewhere that's not her home to sit in a hotel, and half the time they don't need her and they send her on silly trips and it's really a pain. But right now I think the wait to get a line is about 5 to 6 months on average. So it really just depends on how much staff they have, you know, who quits, who moves around and stuff like that. So you just got to be patient. That's what I recommend. Is a lot of people quit on reserve because they're like, oh, this is how it's going to be all the time. I hate it. I'm going to skip, you know, I'm going to just ruin everything I just worked for and just blow out of there. Don't do it. I would really stick it through. Really stick it through. I keep telling my sister, just stick it through. It gets worth it, and I'll explain why later. So that is reserve life. Now, once you get a hard line, though, life becomes way better. You know your entire month schedule in advance, and you have the opportunity to edit your schedule. You can drop, trade, switch, whatever you want to do. It doesn't mean it'll always get approved. It really depends on how many reserves there are. So for me, I would have a trip, you know, a 4-day trip, and if I wanted to cut off the last day, let's say the reserve grid was green, we had more than plenty of reserves, I could drop that. It would be given to somebody on reserve. I would be free to do whatever I wanted. So at first, you know, as you're getting up in seniority, you know, it's harder to get approved for those kinds of things, but once you get to a certain point, bam, you can just edit your schedule, and it's great, because I really liked visiting Albuquerque and Durango, Colorado, some of the overnights we had, and I would just constantly go to those overnights, skip the ones I didn't like, voila, it was nice. Now also, let's get to the fun. So the fun part was once you start to get editing in your schedule and you get to start using your flight benefits. So your flight benefits are with American and United, and you can have one person on each, and then on the American one you can have an extra person. So that's how it works out. They'll explain it. Anyways, I abused my flight benefits because I went a bunch of places, namely Hawaii. This is the first time I had been to Hawaii. I went to Maui. I went there about 4 times because why? It's free. Who wouldn't go to Hawaii if it's a free flight? You know, the flight to Hawaii round trip nowadays, it's like $800, the flight I was on. So I went to Maui for free a lot, and it was great. Basically, they have a program in your main dashboard on the employee website that will have a link that says, you know, flight totals. They have it now to where you can look at the flight, you can see, you can type in the flight number, see how many people are, you know, guaranteed a spot because they bought a ticket. You can see how many people are like on the wait list, and you can see how many seats are empty. And, you know, I'm going to Maui, I would see seats as like, you know, 60 seats open. So I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely getting on. And I would just hop on, I'd get a free seat and tell them tell the flight attendants I'm a flight attendant, and they'd bring me free wine and, you know, stuff like that. So it's great. That's why it's great. Also, I went to Paris, France for, drum roll, $74 round trip. $74. That was dirt cheap because that seat I was occupying, it was straight from Dallas to Paris and back, and it was probably at least $1,000 or more for that trip. So I saved a ton of money. Now you have to keep an eye on the boarding totals for that, but man, that worked out. So that is a lot of fun. And the other fun parts of the job is when you get a fun crew, you get to kind of fly around with them, you know, chit chat, hang out, go on overnights where you get to go out to dinner. You know, maybe you're in a new city, you want to explore things. You will have those people that do want to explore, but then you'll also have a lot of people who are really boring, and they call those slam clickers, and they basically slam their hotel door, click, and they stay in their hotel room. A lot of those people, they're boring, but you know what? You're not going to do something every time. Hey, that's the life. Now, the negative about Mesa in particular is very poor pay. Starting out pay now is different. When I started, it was $15.91. I think it's different now because they renegotiated the contract. I don't know exactly what it is at now, but it's not the industry leading. The per diem, I believe, is like $1.50, 75, something in that range, not up to par to other airlines. And they kind of fudge how they pay, like is it wheels up to wheels down, or when the door closes, or you know, for cancellations or weather delays or this or that. They basically do it to where they can get out of paying you, unfortunately. That's just how Mesa Airlines operates. Why? Because they need to get rid of their CEO. He's a cheapskate. I'm sorry, J.O., if you see this. My experience was mostly good. I had a lot of fun overnights. I got to go a lot of cool places. I got off reserve quickly, didn't have to do a lot of base assisting, and I got the base I wanted because I live here in Dallas. So that all worked out. However, things started to take a turn towards the end of my term there. I unfortunately got fired, but it wasn't particularly my fault. So what happened is there was a brand new employee that was off reserve. I'm sorry, a brand new employee who was just off of training, and she was working a flight with me. So we were going down to Brownsville, Texas, and she shows up at the gate, you know, hi, I'm Travis, I want to work FA2. Okay, cool, whatever. So we get on the plane, I'm working FA2, minding my own business, and she just kind of likes to be Mrs. Know-It-All because she's saying, oh, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, I've worked with #1 person in base, the last person in base, and everywhere in between. I've never had an issue with anybody over how I've done things, ever. So I don't know what her problem is. She's just giving me a hard time. So I ignore it. And anyways, one thing is of note is on Mesa, they still do cash only for snacks and stuff like that. So I had sold some beers and stuff, and I got in the cash. Now the senior flight attendant handles the cash. End of story. That is final. So I had the cash in the folder, ready to go, and the next morning got up and she was blabbing on the van ride about how she knows everybody in corporate and, you know, they just adored her and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, she was doing it just to be annoying. Get on the plane. Before we get on the plane, she was, you know, asking me, where is the money? And I was like, I have it, you know, because I'm going to turn it in. And then she wanted to know my name, and I'm like, why? Because I'm just going to let Tina know, our base administrator, that you have the money for my portion of the trip. No, princess. This is my trip. It's on my line. You're just on reserve. You don't get anything. This doesn't go to you. I'm the one that turns it in. So she had a problem with that. I ignored it because I'm just like, new people, whatever. I don't know what they're thinking. Flash forward, I was getting off a plane in South Dakota that she was getting on, and because she already has an issue with me, she blamed me for not cleaning the back of the aircraft, which was not true because I wasn't even working the back of the aircraft. I was working FA1. I had everything cleaned up and ready to go, and my other flight attendant actually got hired with a different airline, so maybe the back of the aircraft wasn't clean. I didn't check. So she was coming on the plane, like I said, and I didn't actually recognize her at first. I got off the plane, told them they needed a trash bag. That's all they needed. And she gave me attitude, and I was like, I don't know who this person is. I don't know what her problem is. Bye. Then I got an email from her, from the company email. It was like, you didn't clean up the plane. And I'm like, it wasn't even me. You need to leave me alone. I was so irritated that I went onto the Mesa Facebook page and just said, how do you report someone who's harassing you? Because her emails, there's a lot to it, but it was harassment direct towards me. The first comment on that thread thread was just some person making a joke saying, oh, someone's harassing you, you should drop kick her in the throat. And of course I said, haha, which of course they said was insinuating violence. And even though I had multiple people report her for harassment because she was bothering multiple people when I posted that, they were like, well, I'm sorry, we have to fire you. And so they fired me, and they fired the other girl for who made the drop kick comment, and she got a promotion. Yeah, she got promoted to training. How does that even work? Come to find out, she has family or something like that in corporate office, maybe did some favors to one of the head people in HR. I protested using the union. You can do what's called an appeal. And the union said, oh, we'll set up a time to talk to them, and they refused to talk to us. They were supposed to sit on the phone with us, they were supposed to talk to me, you know, basically figure it out so maybe I can get my job back. They just refused to talk to me. They did not want to talk, and I think it is because I sent them multiple emails and got a few responses. They were basically skirting the facts and details in order to get away with what had happened. So there you go. So do I recommend working for Mesa? No. But if you want something to start out with and you're okay with being on reserve and low pay and really just getting your foot in the door and learning some things and getting the chance to actually travel some places, because like I said, if you behave, you mind your own business, it can be fine. You know, you will get to travel some cool places, see some cool things, make some good friends, and then move on. I don't recommend sticking around. They purposely try to get rid of flight attendants who stay longer because they don't want to pay them. So 2 out of 5 stars for Mesa, you know, but that's what life is like there. So if you're thinking about working for there, it's fine. Just don't do it forever. Keep your nose clean and everything will be fine. But that's my recommendations. Let me know what you think. If you work for Mesa and you want to share your little stories, post down here. If you have any questions about how to get hired with this airline or others, share it. So, Travels Travis. See you later.